All right, so everyone, welcome to episode number 14 of the Albert's List webinar series, Making Your Paycheck Work for You as a New Grad with Brian Robben. So I am Albert Chen. I'm the founder of Albert's List. We are a job seeker marketplace that you can find at albertslist.org and bit.ly/findyournextjob. And so what we do is we help connect recruiters, job seekers, hiring managers, and much, much more in one area so that conversations can be better had and so that people can find their jobs a whole lot faster. So today we have Brian Robben here. He's the founder of Take Your Success and selfpublishingx.com. He's also the author of The Golden Resume, which is an Amazon bestseller, and Freedom Money. After achieving passive income through his books and internet businesses at age 23, Brian is now focusing full-time on being an entrepreneur and author. And our topic today is talking about how you can make your paycheck work for you. So, we have a lot of new graduates within our group, new graduates, and maybe even just professionals in general who watch a lot of not who watch, but rather who are now making money and in a job and doing a lot of really cool things with their life. And fortunately or unfortunately, they now get the money of a paycheck and they're wondering what to do with it. And so in today's webinar, we're going to talk a little bit about what it means to start your first job after college and what it means to save your money and the difference between net worth and income and how to get your paycheck to work for you. So maybe you don't have to work until you're 65, 70 and can actually, make something out of your career, right? So welcome to our webinar, Brian.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I've done a few podcasts, but I'm ready for this webinar, and we're talking about one of my favorite subjects, money. So let's do it.
Money. So it's apparent to me that even though we're in our post-recession age here, that having the right amount of money, and let me put myself directly in or out of the sun here. I don't know. The sun's going down anyway. It's apparent to me that even though the recession has come and gone and come and passed, I read a lot of articles and I hear a lot of articles from places like Bankrate.com and so forth that talk about how people in this country still don't save money and how we have more than 2/3 of the population couldn't handle a $1,000 emergency if that happened. What's going on in this country with regards to money these days?
Yeah, I don't know about that because I just find money as this thing that it's so much more than money. It's freedom. It lets you travel. It helps you in a bad spot, like emergency fund. So I personally don't understand that. But I also did see that article. Maybe I saw it from you. I don't know if you shared it on Facebook, but I did see that. And that kind of blew me away because, people lose jobs or people, get a medical emergency or, something happens where you need that money. And that's almost one of the points of this whole webinar is to, help you when things are going good so they're better, and when things are going bad so you can protect yourself and make the bad things less bad, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. I myself, having worked here for the last 6 years, it's always been communicated to me how important it is to not only make your money and spend your money, but also save your money. And so before we get, I think, any further into this, I know that we have people who, and by the way, if you're in this webinar today, feel free to ask questions and we'll address them as we go along. So I think before we jump into all the whole strategy of that and credit scores and things of that sort, and we will get to credit scores here in a little bit, Jamie, I'd like to actually cover off on a few quick definitions with regards to money, right? So you've got things like your IRA, your 401k. If you're self-employed, you've got your SEP IRA, and you've got all these different investment retirement accounts, credit scores, things of that sort. And so what gives? Why should anybody care about these things? These sound like just a bunch of letter combinations that confuse the heck out of me, and maybe you too when you were first starting.
Yeah, so they do sound like a bunch of acronyms that don't mean much, something you have to do, something that your boss, your family members tell you to do. But really, I look at these. So we're talking about your IRA and your SEP IRA, whatever. Those aren't just like these acronyms. These are your vehicles to working 20 years less. Your vehicles to becoming a millionaire. Your vehicles to traveling the world when you want to. So I don't know what your goal is, But these investment accounts are, so much more than just investment accounts. I think that money is so much more than money, and it's what you can do with it, and that's why it's important. And I don't know if you want to go depth on that or.
Yeah, and so I guess we could jump in on any of these, since my understanding that a Roth IRA, an IRA, a 401k all kind of encompass the same thing, right? So you're investing money into accounts in the stock market, and presumably based on your trust in the system, you're going to have this money work for you. And so how does that work exactly?
Yeah, so you can also, do an individual account through Fidelity or Vanguard, but we're talking, about employees, so those will be more 401k or IRA or Roth IRA. But basically, on a super simple fundamental level, you're putting your money in this mutual fund a lot of times, or index funds. And these are made up of a bunch of companies. The goal is that the company does well, and they pay back capital gains or dividends, and then that money compounds. And depending on how much you know about that, the goal is, I think over the last 90 years, the S&P 500, which is a bunch of index funds, has gone up 7 to 10% in the whole. So I don't know what the future holds. I'm not a fortune teller, but if you look at the past 80 years, which is a pretty decent sample size, your money's bound to go up, and it's really hard to get rich by just on your income, unless you're a celebrity or a sports star. So the way to compound that income and get it working for you is to invest it in these employer programs or your own program.
Okay. And so how do you know exactly which index fund or which kind of things to invest into, right? Because I guess now that I realize, even though the stock market dropped like a rock last Friday because of Britain exiting the European Union, I discovered today that if you put a couple $1,000s or even $100 back into the stock market pretty much the same day, you'd actually have made it all back, and actually made it all back even more today. So how does that all work, and how do you select stocks? And do you go into things like index funds, or say, if you're really into things like high tech, do you buy individual stocks instead?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and probably the best question, because a lot of people know they should invest, but they don't know what to invest in. And I find, there's all these studies of monkeys or models, picked a bunch of stocks, and they ended up doing better than these financial experts. So because of that, I prefer index funds, because you don't know what company's going to do better than the other. There's so much involved with technology, with mergers, acquisitions, that I have this great quote, actually. It's in my book. It's not for me. I don't quote myself. But it's John Bogle.
You gotta have you quoting yourself. Why not?
John Bogle, actually, the founder of index funds, he says, "Don't look for the needle, buy the haystack." And that's just saying that it's nearly impossible. The odds are against you if you're picking the right individual stocks. So in my book, I recommend that you buy an index fund, and that S&P 500 index fund has around 500 companies, sometimes a little more. Those are blue stocks like Disney, Kroger, Verizon. Those stocks, super slim chance of ever going out of business or going bankrupt. But they're going to hit their dividends and they're going to pay back. And that's why I recommend you put 90% of your investment money in those dividend safe investments, and then the other 10% on. The other 10% you can get a little riskier and pick your Netflix in the early 2000s or 10s in the early 2000s, maybe now. And that you have your fund money where if it goes down, you still got 90%, you still got that backboard with the index funds. But, the goal is it hits 100%, 1,000%, and then you're obviously big difference for yourself.
Yeah. So we have a couple of really relevant questions in the feed right now. Let's go through both of those for the time being. Fiona asks, can you explain the difference between a Roth IRA and a 401k?
So from my understanding, so I actually didn't, invest in my company's 401k when I used to be an employee, because I just had my own stuff set up. But I just assumed 401k is through the company, and they might give you some benefits, they might match your contribution or whatever.
Up
And
to
then
6%, I think, sometimes too.
yeah, so that's nice. I'd
Yeah.
always recommend doing that. But the main difference between the IRA and the Roth IRA, and that's just based on taxes, where the Roth IRA, it's not taxed until later, unless I confuse those. Where the IRA is
59
taxed,
and a half years old. Yep.
yeah, where the IRA is taxed immediately when you put it in, but then, or no, I switched those. Roth IRA, I think, is taxed immediately, and then it's not once you take it out, where the IRA is
Yep.
taxed, yeah, after you take it out, so.
Yep.
But anyway, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that stuff's not really important. It's kind of, saving as much as you can, increasing your income, and then investing in those index funds. And a lot of times I'd recommend even employees, if you don't get the company match, to invest in your own index fund, because a lot of times companies will put you in these mutual funds that, cost you 2% on fees, which you're not, getting anything. It's just a management cost. And is my mic echoing? Because I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know. I just fight through the audio issues as I go throughout. Margo follows up with a question and asks, how much should I put in my Roth a month? Maybe a percentage of my salary? As of now, I just picked a semi-random number. And so if I recall correctly, I think your Roth IRA is a $5,500 yearly contribution. So I like to send my Roth IRA basically a whole big fat check at the end of the year. But I guess if you're better with it, it's probably 5,500 divided by 12. But what's your idea?
Yeah, so that's kind of another reason I keep pitching this, like having your own individual investment account. But I'd definitely say to max it out, like as long as it's reasonable. You don't want to be like living on the streets because you put all your money in your Roth and you can't pay rent. But as long as it's reasonable and you can pay rent and make your ends meet, I would actually put as much money as you can into that each year. And then, yeah, that's what I would do.
And then Jamie asks, how important is diversity in a free market? Contrast on the possibility to be positive and negative.
So with that index fund, that's like another great reason to do it, because you're getting diversity. You're getting, companies, 500 or more companies in all different industries. So, if one's down, ideally like another one's up to, even it out or make gains. It's very likely, unless you're talking about like 2000, 2008, 2009, where, all industries are going to be down. So that's, in that sense, the index fund and that kind of diversity is good. But, also, well, I'd say diversity is almost always good, because you can't really pick the winners. If you knew what the winners were, then obviously you just invest, in one company and just ride that one out. But that's why I'd say, you can mix and match both. But like I said before, I'd go 90% on the index funds, because that gets you diversity, that keeps you safe. And then the 10%, you can, pick one company or spread it out among a bunch of different companies.
Yeah, like we can only be so lucky, right? If you got into Apple back in 2001 when it was trading at $7 a share, and you rode it all the way out to, if you're gonna say you bought like 1,000 shares of it, right? And you rode it all the way up to $600. I mean, you could retire pretty easy right there. But you didn't know that, if Steve Jobs came back to Apple either, that things would be a whole lot better. So you definitely want to go the safe route. But there's a lot of routes that you can definitely take. You can even go like the route of risk if you wanted to too.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, you don't know Apple's going to do that, because obviously that stock was struggling, because of Steve Jobs or other reasons. So at that time, it almost looks like a bad stock, but then the people who buy it obviously get the returns. So there's no like clear, obvious winner. Otherwise, everyone would be on it, and that would drive the price up.
Yeah, no, totally. So, I think that's enough for stock market questions for the time being. If folks want to ask more, we'll go ahead and answer them. I wanted to address things such as, actually, while we're talking about putting money into the stock market, I want to talk about debt for a moment, and also talk about the difference between good debt and bad debt, because debt, as much as is just as much part of your financial story as much as being positive and in the green, or in the black rather. And so, talk to us a little bit about, and I don't know if you talk about this in your book or not, about the pros and cons of credit cards.
So I just talk about the negatives, basically, the credit card debt. But there are
Yeah.
some positives. I'll start with the positives first because I can talk at length more about the negatives. But the positives, I actually only use credit cards on almost all expenses. So I get sometimes 1% at the least, and then sometimes, depending on some special or depending on the month, I can get like 5% cash back by using a credit card. So that's just like a no-brainer, especially on big deal purchases. So that's a good thing. Like I'm find myself financially responsible, so I can get that cash back, and that's just free money. And then also, you don't have to pay it till 30 days later. So if you're in a bind or things come up, using the credit card, you can pay it later, obviously. But that's like, I don't even give it a shot that I'm not going to pay it. But obviously the negatives are those credit card companies, they'll get you at anything they can, all those fees. Sometimes, they'll even trick you, whether it's on intentional or not. And for that reason, I find like student loans and credit cards are the two biggest things that, young adults and all adults really go into debt. So if you're I wouldn't put extraneous costs on a credit card at all, like a vacation that you don't really need and can't pay for. Don't do it, because you could pay $2,000 for a vacation, and then if you don't have the money to pay for it, you're paying all that interest. You can end up paying $40,000 in interest fees for a $2,000 vacation, which makes zero sense.
That definitely makes zero sense. I definitely pay off my credit card every month and keep it pretty simple that way, because you don't want to deal with 18 to 23% interest rates, which is just killer. And some people carry that balance, and it's actually quite amazing to me. But granted, it happens.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up, because I would say, besides investing, like one of the first areas you should put the money you save is at your debt, because debt makes it harder to invest. That makes it harder to just live. Like, you got that weight on you. Waking up to 40 grand in debt's never fun. So that's like I think it's chapter 3. Like one of the first things I talk about is tackling your debt. So,
and consolidating your debt as well. Yeah, no, that's definitely true. Yeah. And that actually goes for your investment accounts as well, because after having so many different employers over the last couple of years, I have IRAs and Roth IRAs and 401k spread out between like 4 different companies. And, they all do the same thing after a while, but it's just more logins to remember. So Fiona asks a question that says, is it true that if you actually increase your credit line because you make partial payments on your credit card balance, because the credit card companies are making off your unpaid balance? I have no idea about that one, actually. I know that I'm given a credit card line. I come very far from hitting it, but I guess your questions around that?
Yeah, I don't know about that either, because like you pay it off every month. But also, I know that you can cut down on the interest rate by just saying that you're gonna transfer that debt over to a different credit card company. So they're super competitive, and they don't want that. So sometimes you can even cut the interest percent down, like 50%. But I don't know about making partial payments and all that.
Yeah. Just answering a question here on what Hidden Ticket T says.
Yeah, we covered that.
So while we're still talking about credit cards here too, I know we had something earlier with regards to your credit score and how important that is. And so I wanted to cover off on credit scores really quickly, because I do know that it's important. And so talk to us a little bit about how important it is to keep a high credit score, and what having a really bad credit score does to you as far as your ability to buy things.
Yeah, so credit score, if you're doing it well, it's something you don't really think about, because it's just, always increasing or staying the same. And, but credit score is, extremely important when you're making big purchases. So if you're buying a house, if you're buying a car, because, based on your credit score, that's directly what kind of loan and what kind of interest rates you can get based on the credit score. So, that's not a big deal, and no one's going to check your credit score to buy, $100 purchase or whatever.
Sure.
But if you're buying a $500,000 house, then your credit score matters a ton. So if it's in like 750 or whatever, then you're pretty good, and you're going to be able to get a better rate, better agreement with the bank. But if your credit score is, super low in the 500s or, lower than that, then obviously you're going to be more of a risk to the bank, and you're going to get like a worse deal, have to pay higher, higher loans, deductible, all that. So
not bad, Jamie. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I think I think that as I see my own, I think, net worth and credit score go up because I pay back on time, I also notice that banks are willing to do things for me that go extra. So, for example, at Bank of America, they're willing to do like a multiplier on the interest rates that I get to.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
also actually a multiplier on interest in general, where they're like, oh yeah, we'll give you an extra 0.05% on the 1% that already exists. And it might not be that much money now, but it helps down the line.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the credit score goes directly back to paying off your credit card every month, things like that. So
Let's see. So Fiona says, do you guys use free credit score every year, or do you recommend using another source to check the credit score? Credit Karma. Yeah, that's what I recommend. Mint.com is a great place to look at my finances too.
yeah, I was about to say Mint and my bank Chase. They just tell me my credit score like every month or two. So
Yeah. Margot, you're asking for tips on good credit cards. So my general recommendation is I would say cashback works out really well. I actually was a user of Chase Sapphire Preferred for about the last year before I decided to cancel it because I didn't want to pay the $95 fee, and I didn't get the $3,000. I didn't get, I think, the $4,000 that you have to spend in your first 3 months to get the 50,000 points.
yeah.
But what tips do you have on credit cards and getting the credit cards there?
So I just always look for, because I'm not like a big spender, I'm not going to get all those points or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I just use Chase Freedom, and that I don't have to pay anything at all. It gets me like the 1% cash back every purchase, and then sometimes it has those special deals that go higher.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that there might be a better credit card out there.
Yeah.
But at this point, and for young adults, I just recommend that you don't pay anything for your credit card unless you have some weird circumstance that you spend a lot. And yeah, I'd recommend cashback or like free flight miles or something like that. That helps you out.
Yeah, I would say that when it comes to any of those things, that even though in my own mind I'm thinking, yeah, flight miles sound great, all that stuff, it sometimes comes with that caveat where you have to pay that yearly fee. And so, yeah, points are bogus, right? So, even though I have 11,000 points with Chase Sapphire Preferred, at the end of the day, it only comes out to about $111, and there's really not much you can do with $111. So, it really only does you so much. If you have a job where you're like a consultant and you're traveling every other week and you're on an airplane, only at that point do maybe those points make sense, because not only are you spending the money, but you can also expense them back to your employer and they come back to you. You'll also be able to use them for your vacation later on. Like, my sister, who works for a really well-known consumer goods company, flies a lot. And so she can use a lot of these points back for her vacations. And that's literally what she does. She just uses these points and it comes back to that. Wow. Okay. Favorite credit card and specific credit card plans. I didn't know that this would be so popular, but I guess we're here. You want to answer that?
Like I said, I'm not a big credit card guy. I kind of see it as a secondary or a third tier compared to like saving money, spending, and investing.
Yeah.
So as long as it's free and you're not paying anything for it, it's kind of a minimal, small time deal. So sorry, I don't have an answer for that, but yeah, the points guy.
I go to the points guy for that. So, for me, I think like Chase has a couple of really good credit cards. They've got ones that give you points for Amazon. Bank of America, I have both of their credit cards, both the cash rewards and travel rewards. I think when it comes to traits that you look for on your cards, what's probably the best actually is if you can use your card abroad. So if you can go abroad and not have to go through any of the ATM fees, then that usually works out perfectly. And if you use the ones with fees, those can go anywhere between like $50 to $150 to $200, $300. So, yeah, I would say that stick with the free cards, especially if you live a fairly frugal life. As I believe you probably should. So let's get off credit cards here for a little bit, since I know we spent a lot of time on that. Let's talk a little bit about net worth and income, since that was one of your topics that we wanted to talk about. I know the difference between net worth and income because thankfully I read The Millionaire Next Door, which, even though it was written 20 years ago, really speaks very well to what actually net worth is and how people get to that high net worth, and why net income doesn't matter as much. And so, what is the difference, and why should people care about the difference?
Yeah, so income, is just what you're getting paid. If you have a day job, that's what you're getting paid from your day job, and your other income, maybe you do a side hustle, or you get money from investments or whatever. But really, if it's just money in, money out, your income really means nothing. If it's $30,000 a year or $3 million a year, if it's money in, money out, then you're at a net zero, and it doesn't really matter. So, like in my book, I have some notes. Like Mike Tyson, with his income, got up to $300 million. Evander Holyfield got up to $230 million. Allen Iverson, $150 million. So those are, NBA players and boxers. Mm-hmm. These guys' income is so high, absurdly high, top 0.1%, probably further than that. But since they don't have like financial intelligence, their net worth was actually zero or negative because they're buying, tigers, or buying houses, or buying cars. Yeah. And that's why like income can actually be tricky and, deceiving, because if you're a consultant making 500 grand, you're like, oh, I can have this house, in California, this house in Spain. But really, if you're not, making the most of your income by like, saving money and investing it, then, really you can be more in debt than your neighbor. Actually, you won't be living in the same neighborhood. But anyway, someone making, $40,000 who, like in The Millionaire Next Door, getting the most out of their money. So that's why it's deceiving. And then net worth is just all your assets, your positive assets minus your debts and, credit card debt or student loans. Yeah. And that's how you get to that, net figure. Net worth is truly like your kind of financial health, or how you're doing. Because like I said, income is very deceiving. So your income could be really high, but you could be trading in debt. And on the flip side, your net worth could be really high, but you're not making that much income. So that's why net worth is super important to look at.
Yeah, no, I know that for a fact. Like, I think I saw this really great video. It was a long time ago, but it was about this parking lot attendant who made no more than $12 an hour, who was able to accumulate something like $500,000 in net worth because he knew how to invest his stocks.
I was about to say, did he invest? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a great example of investing too, because there's no way this guy is being a multimillionaire just on his salary because it was so low.
Yeah.
But by investing, he was able to get there.
So we have some interesting questions coming in through here. Jamie asks, will China's free market overpower the US dollar in the next couple of years? What are you asking about that question in context to? I guess my question is, my answer to that would be, well, China's middle class, I think, continues to grow. I think they'll definitely have a stronger currency. I guess if we decide to peg that currency, it really depends on where people will look, and I guess whether you really want to invest that. Will the producers outpower the consumers? Yeah, I would say so. I would say as China becomes a more consumer-focused economy, much like America was back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, you're going to see a lot more purchasing power from their side. Okay, how much money should I have in my retirement accounts year over year after I graduate college? I guess, do we want to go back and answer those questions?
Yeah, I'm for it if they're asking. So
I would say it depends on your salary. But
yeah, it depends on your salary, situation, debt, all of that.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so talked about net worth, we talked about net income, we've talked a little bit about your debt, and we've also talked a little bit about credit cards. So let's talk about how to trick your brain into saving more money, since that was one of your topics as well that we wanted to discuss. And so I like to think about my saving money strategy as trying not to spend any more in a day than I do in an hour of post-tax income, which is kind of crazy when I think about it, because in California especially, it's not too good to do that, since you'll probably be eating, ramen noodles for a long, long time. I would say, what are some better tricks so that folks can save more money and help their dollar stretch further and maybe retire by the time they're 35, 40, or get closer to it?
So yeah, I'd say like this question and basically like everything you're doing in life all depends on like why you're doing it and your psychology behind it.
Sure.
So if you're just saving money because Albert and Brian are telling you to, or you read it on the news, or your parents told you that it's good to save money, then there's no way you're going to save money, because that's not motivating, that's not inspiring. That new outfit, those new shoes, new car, so much more tempting and so much more desirable or attractive than just saving money. So if you're just saving money to save money, I'd say like you already lost, you're in trouble. But you need to find another reason to save money. And for me, and like why I named my book Freedom Money, because I think like freedom is one of the best things out there, if not the best. Like people go to war for freedom. People will do crazy things for freedom. And if you're, say you're shopping, you're at the mall, and you find some $200 dress, and you're deciding like, should I buy it? Should I just save my money? If you're just saying, oh, I'll have $200 in my account if I don't buy it, that's not that attractive, because it's not, real. It's just in your account. That's boring. But if you say, oh, it's $200, I can invest it. It can turn into $1,000, next year. It can turn into, $10,000, whatever. Then we're talking about real stuff. So I'd say if you like compare to saving for the material, you're going to lose. But if you have like a why why are you saving? Maybe you want to retire at 40. Like whatever your long-term goal is, compare that to the purchase. And I find that that's always going to win, because buying material items, like it's happened to you, it's happened to me, it's happened to everyone. You buy it, you're so excited about it, and then the next day, next week, you're like, I just spent that money and it's boring, it's stupid. I'm done with it. And then you want to buy something else. So it always under-delivers.
Yeah, because, I think the thing that you realize is that a lot of the things, once you take them out of the lot or once you take them out of the store, immediately decline in value. It goes especially for things like cars, where immediately once you buy a new car off the lot, it loses about, I think, 30% of its value. And so sometimes you're better off leasing, or sometimes you're just even better off buying a used car, because that's just how it works. And so when it comes to buying things, where do wealthy people go and where do not so wealthy people go when it comes to buying what they want to buy? And how does that differentiate when it comes to wealth?
Yeah, so this ties just on what I was saying. Wealthy people have like a long-term goal for everything they do, not just their money. But you'll see, billionaires like Mark Cuban, owner of the Mavs, always in a T-shirt. I'm sure he has huge houses and stuff, but he's just not buying clothes and investing in that. I think Zuckerberg like always wears the same shirts. So they're just examples.
And Steve Jobs always had his turtleneck and his jeans and his New Balance shoes. Yeah,
exactly. But then you'll see someone who's broke, who's wearing $1,000 on them, on their shoes, on their jeans, on their clothes, and they're deciding to put their money in assets that like immediately depreciate, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And so instead, these rich people are buying assets, like we were talking about. They're investing in the stock market. Maybe they're investing in education. Maybe they're investing in startups. Maybe they're going out on their own to start their own company. So they're putting in investments that can multiply by 10x, 100x, 1000x. Where clothes are never going to do that. They're just immediately going to drop in value and probably go to zero, in 5 years. So that's the difference between where like average people put their money and kind of rich people put their money.
Yeah, definitely. So how else can folks who are on this webinar and also watch this particular video later find ways to make their paycheck go further for them that we haven't discussed?
Yeah, so I think salary negotiation is a big one. Obviously, this is when you're coming into a job, but a lot of times people can negotiate their salary in a job, or they'll actually find a way to transition jobs just so they can negotiate their salary. And I find that like employers aren't really concerned with your paycheck as long as you provide value and you're going to get the job done. They could come in thinking they're going to pay you have 60,000 a year, but you tell them you want 70 and you have 3 other offers, then they'll be like, do we really want this person? And they'll pay you 70, and you just picked up $10,000 by being assertive. So in my book, I lay out like a step-by-step strategy how to negotiate your salary. But I'd say that's a big one. Starting a blog, if you like photography, just doing some side hustle, and hopefully it's something you love, because then it's going to be fun. So then you can pick up side money that way. And then I'd say invest in the stock market, you get those dividend income. And yeah, I mean, those are the big ones. The typical millionaire has 7 income streams. So I'd say the average person just has 1. So you can get creative with it.
Yep. And, the average millionaire is thinking about the long term and is extremely frugal. I mean, not all of us who watch this video or on this call are able to enjoy the benefits of being able to go work at a startup and exit, unfortunately. Some of us got to play that long-term game in order to make it really work. Yeah.
I'd say
that's amazing.
I'd say fun is in the long-term game, because that's like the journey, and that's kind of how you learn about yourself, what you're worth, and it's just more fun than if you just, get that exit. I mean, you obviously have a ton of money, but what do you do once you get that exit money?
Yeah. How do I negotiate as a woman with regards to getting more money? I don't know if that's a question necessarily for this webinar. We'll look at something later on I think, in July as a question for that. But I would say understanding your net worth and your value, knowing what kind of skills you bring to the table, and knowing what your peers are making is definitely a good start.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, and just be aggressive. I know like studies say that guys are prone to be just more aggressive in their negotiation. And that's part of the reason why they get paid more, not the whole thing, obviously, not the whole reasoning. But I'd just be aggressive, and while you're interviewing for this job, try to interview for another job or 2 jobs, and convey that you really want to work with this company, but you do have other offers. And it's the same way with like dating, or if you don't come off as needy, then they're like, oh, maybe we'll lose her if we don't pay her as much. So that's what I'd recommend.
Yeah, totally. Oh, internship at Google for $9,000 a month. Wow. All right. So let me see. The final topic that we want to talk about today, I think really ties it together, because everyone's been asking. And so if there's, I guess, one more thing that we can talk about, it's probably that winning investment strategy that people can set on autopilot. Because I always think if there's something that I can just set and forget and not have to think about and dump, $100 a month into something, how would you suggest going about that to get towards the financial freedom that we all crave and desire?
So yeah, I think this is so huge, because you obviously want to grow your money. You want it to work for you, but you don't want to spend all your time doing the work. You want to have a plan. So with this automatic strategy, I find it best to set up automatic transfer. Once that income hits your checking account from your job, you immediately transfer it over to a different savings account, and that will just protect you from spending it. Because if it's in your checking account, you can spend it right away. But if you transfer it over from your checking account to your savings account, so say you use like Capital One or just some online bank for a savings account, you use that, and then you immediately transfer it over from the savings account to your investment account, how much you allocate to that. And that way, once the money comes in, it immediately goes to your savings account. So you protect yourself from spending it, then it immediately goes into your investment account, and that's just rinse and repeat. And, after, it's going to take maybe an hour, like the first time you set it up, to set up those accounts and make the transfers and, figure out how much you're going to send over. But after that, as long as the money's coming in, there's no reason, if Brexit happens, if the economy tanks, if the economy goes up, you just do the same thing. Keep it automated. And that way you don't have to check the news. Who cares if the economy goes down 10%? Who cares if it goes up 10? If it goes down 10, if it goes up 10, who cares? You just keep doing the same thing. And I think that's beautiful, because then people, they want the money, but they don't want to spend all their time on it. So this way you can spend your time hanging out with your friends, enjoying life, knowing that you're getting the most out of your money.
Good. Yeah, no, I do something like that. And in addition to that, I also leverage the JARS method that T. Harv Eker talks about, where I put separate.
About that.
Yeah, so he has this belief where you put your um, you put your you put a percentage of every part of your paycheck as as a source of into separate jars that look at both finance, having fun, your financial freedom account, and your play account and your give account. So, as T.
Perfect.
Harv Becker says, you should put 10% into your financial freedom account, and that's essentially your 401k or your Roth IRA, things like that. Then you have your long-term savings for spending, and so that can be your emergency account. That's another 10%. Your education account, which is your account where you learn, where you invest in how to learn, in schooling, in courses that you find online. That's another 10%. Then it's 55% towards your necessities, so that's your everyday stuff. 10% towards play, which is going out and enjoying yourself on a time-to-time basis. And then 5% towards your give, which is where you donate money to at the end of the day. Yeah. And so I do a modified version of
I
that
like
where I put a little bit more into my education account, a little bit more into my necessities, and a little less into my play. And I combine that with my give because California is just so expensive in general. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Ohio. Mm-hmm. Cheaper, so. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm in
man.
Ohio.
We're
It's
in
a little
Ohio
more
again?
cheaper, so.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Kroger
Cincinnati.
is headquartered in your hometown there. So
Yeah, that's
pretty,
why I
pretty good,
referenced it, I
pretty
think,
good
yeah.
little area. So before we conclude on our webinar, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us? And right after that, feel free to also promote whatever it is that you have going on with your companies and your businesses and everything that where people can learn more about you and connect with you.
Sure. So yeah, there's one more thing. Sure. So yeah, there is one more thing. That's the last chapter in my book, and you just mentioned it briefly with the jars.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that this like money thing. If you get it, under control and find your financial freedom and automate it,
Mm-hmm.
it's this beautiful thing for you. But you can also use your money to help other people. Help your cousin who needs money, help a charity you believe in, and money is this powerful thing that you can share it with other people. But you can't do that if you're in debt. You can't do that if you don't have any money. So a lot of people look at money like the wrong way. And it's like, oh, if you look at money that way, if you want to be a millionaire, you're greedy or whatever. But really, money is just like power. Money's freedom. You can use money for love and help other people. So I think it's a super powerful thing. And a bunch of us are young adults with decades ahead of us. If we get it mastered now, then we can always help ourselves, help other people, and that's just this beautiful thing. So that's my little spiel. But to learn more about me, you can go to takeyoursuccess.com. That's where you'll find anything from how to succeed in college, how to succeed after college, career stuff, personal development. I talk about health and fitness. It's kind of all.
You're like an upcoming Ferris. I love it.
Everything success related. I hope so. But anyway, and then I kind of have a niche site called selfpublishingannex.com, and that's just if you want to become an author. I just started that maybe in March, so it doesn't have as much traction, but that's for different kind of audience. And then my books are on Amazon. You just type in my name, Brian Robben, or the book titles, Freedom Money and The Golden Resume. The Golden Resume will help you get the job, and then Freedom Money will help you use your paycheck. What we're just talking about. So
wonderful. So on my end, you can get in touch with me at albertslist.org or bit.ly/findyournextjob. You can reach out to Brian on Amazon or really in our group. He hangs out there a lot as well. And so, Albert's List once again, job seeker marketplace where we connect recruiters, job seekers, career service providers, and much, much more. And we've helped drive over $2.5 million in salaries over the last couple of years, and we're aiming to do more. And now we have a marketplace as well where you can get to know us even better and get the things you need so your career can go to the next level at albertslist.org/services. So until next time, this is Albert and Brian signing off. And thank you again for joining our show. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks with a webinar on how to negotiate your way to a $1,000 plus increase with someone we've had on the past, Lee Lin. And so we'll see you guys then. And thank you. Have a great day. All right. Bye.
Thanks, Albert.